This story dives into the quiet, creeping distance that can grow in a relationship, the small signs, the silences, and the unnoticed shifts that speak louder than any argument. It's about discovering betrayal, facing the fracture of trust, and realizing that sometimes the hardest part of love is noticing what's missing before it's gone. Yet, it also shows that even in brokenness, a door can remain open for healing. Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me. There was a chair across from me. Not just any chair, her chair. The one with the faded blue cushion and the tiny rip in the armrest from when her bracelet caught on it 2 summers ago. It used to creak every time she laughed. Now it just sat there, still, silent, accusing. I made dinner for two. Lasagna, garlic bread, salad on the side like she likes, no onions. I even lit the candles. Set the table. Folded the napkins into those dumb little triangles like they do at fancy places she always drags me to. I even put her favorite playlist on. The one with all those indie songs I used to pretend to like just to see her sing along. She didn't show. Not because she forgot. She was in the other room. Door cracked, talking low. Not to me. Not even about me. Just talking. Laughing, actually. Like nothing was happening out here. Like she couldn't smell the roasted garlic or see the flicker of candlelight under the door. Like I wasn't real anymore. We've been in the same house for weeks now, and I've seen her less than my neighbor's cat. And that thing hides from everyone. She leaves early, comes back late. Always meetings, or gym, or just needed some air. You can tell a lot about a person by how they say just. Hers always sounds like a lie dressed in yoga pants. She started wearing perfume again. And heels. She hasn't worn heels around me in months. Said her feet hurt too much. But I guess pain's worth it for whoever she's dressing up for now. I don't ask anymore. Not because I don't care, but because I already know. Not the full picture, not yet, but enough to make me stop trying to guess. The funny thing? I still made her a gift. A photo album. Printed. Bound. Matte finish. Photos from our first 3 years. Little captions under each one. Your laugh here shook the camera. That was the night we got locked out and had to climb in through the window. We didn't know it yet, but you were already pregnant. She didn't even look at it. Didn't even notice the wrapping paper sitting on the counter next to her keys. You know what she did notice? That I didn't say happy anniversary. Because I didn't. I let the silence sit. And when she finally looked up from her phone and said, "Aren't you forgetting something?" I just stood there, tired, hollow, and said, "No, I didn't forget. I'm just done celebrating something that doesn't exist anymore." She blinked like I spoke a different language, then went back to scrolling. No fight, no denial, just a shrug and another scroll. And that's when I knew. This wasn't distance. This wasn't boredom. This was something else. And I was about to find out exactly how deep it went. I wasn't even snooping. Not really. I was looking for the vacuum attachment she always misplaces, the one for corners and baseboards. I opened the hallway closet, expecting a mess of tangled extension cords and winter coats. But instead I found something out of place. Something I hadn't seen in over a year, her old tin overnight bag. The one she used when we'd do weekend trips to the lake. Only it wasn't dusty. Or forgotten. It was packed. Not like emergency packed, more like ready-to-go packed. Neat. Intentional. Jeans folded. Chargers coiled. A pair of those satin pajamas she only wore when she was trying to feel expensive. That bag hadn't just been sitting there. It had been used. Recently. I didn't open it all the way. Just enough to see the edge of a folded toothbrush case and a tiny travel-size perfume bottle. That's when I heard her coming down the hall. I shut the door fast and stepped away, pretending to fiddle with a crooked picture frame. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did, but didn't care. She just walked past me, phone in hand, thumbs swiping fast like whatever was on the screen couldn't wait. She smelled like coconut and something sharp, not a scent I recognized. Not one of the 5 or 6 bottles on the bathroom shelf. New. After she left, I stood there staring at that closet like it was breathing. That bag haunted me all day. Through meetings, emails, even when I tried distracting myself with a dumb cooking video on my lunch break. Something wasn't adding up. Why was it packed? Where was she going that she couldn't tell me about? Or had she already gone and come back without me even noticing? That night, I waited until she was in the shower. I opened her phone. Yes, I know. I know how that sounds. But there's a point where silence becomes an answer, and I was past the point of trusting anything said aloud. Her phone was locked, of course. It used to be 0612, her brother's birthday. But she changed it months ago. I remember because I asked her why she changed it, and she just said, it was time. Like the code had expired. Like access to her life had expired. When she came out of the bathroom, towel around her head, she didn't even look at me. Just walked past, climbed into bed, and turned her back. She fell asleep in 10 minutes. I lay there for 4 hours. Around 2 in the morning, she twitched in her sleep and mumbled a name. Not mine. It wasn't clear, could have been Ben, Dan, or even Ken, I don't know. But it wasn't Cliff. No one's ever sleep mumbled Cliff. I stared at the ceiling, hearing that name over and over in my head like a skipping record. A name I didn't recognize. A name that didn't belong here. In this bed. In this house. In our house. The next morning, I got up early. Made coffee. Sat across from that damn empty chair again. I didn't ask where she was going. Because part of me already knew. I just didn't know yet how far it would go. Or how far she'd already gone. The next few days were like walking around with glass in my shoes. Everything looked normal on the outside. Dishes got done, laundry folded, phones charged. But every little movement felt wrong. She started wearing headphones around the house. Not the big over-the-ear kind either. The subtle ones, the kind you can hide under your hair. I'd talk to her, and she'd tap her ear like she was in the middle of something. Always in the middle of something. Twice, I caught her smiling at her phone, then immediately turning it face down when I walked by. I didn't say anything. I was too tired to start another fight I'd lose. That's the thing they don't tell you about emotional distance. It doesn't explode, it erodes. Little by little, you just stop speaking. Stop trying. You start editing your thoughts before they ever leave your mouth. Eventually, silence becomes safer than the truth. But I couldn't stay quiet forever. One night, after a weirdly quiet dinner, where the only sound was the clinking of forks on ceramic, I asked her, "Is there something you're not telling me?" She didn't even look up, just shrugged and said, "I'm just tired, Cliff." That word again. Tired. As if exhaustion explained away secrecy. As if being tired meant you could just stop being honest. The next morning, I checked the closet again. The overnight bag was gone. Not moved. Not zipped open. Gone. She hadn't said a word about going anywhere. No trip. No visit to her mom's. No work thing. Nothing. And she came home that night in the same clothes she left in. So either she packed that bag, used it, and put everything back before I noticed, or she left it somewhere. Like at someone else's place. That thought hit me so hard I sat down on the stairs and just breathed. Heavy, shaky, panic breaths. I wasn't ready for this to be real. Suspicions are safe as long as they live in your head. Once they escape, once they touch the real world, they become facts. And facts hurt more than guesses ever could. I didn't say anything that night, but I started planning something I hadn't done before. I was going to follow her, and I was already ashamed of what I'd find. I didn't have some master plan. No private investigator. No burner phone. Just my car, a half-charged battery, and the kind of sick nervous energy you get before a dentist appointment that might end in surgery. She told me she was going to the studio, her friend Jess's art space downtown. I nodded like I believed her, like I hadn't already checked Jess's Instagram the night before and seen her posting stories from Palm Springs. Alone. She left around 6:40. Not dressed for painting. She wore those high-waisted jeans that make her legs look a mile long and a deep burgundy top I'd never seen before. Not once, in all our 7 years. Her hair was done the way she only ever did it when we used to go out for anniversaries. The kind of effort that has a purpose. Not for painting. For someone. I waited 15 minutes, heart pounding like I was about to rob a bank, then grabbed my keys and followed. She didn't notice. Or if she did, she didn't care. I stayed back a few cars, keeping enough distance to pretend I wasn't breaking my own heart in real time. She drove past downtown, past the studio, then turned into a side street I didn't recognize. It was residential, quiet, too clean. The kind of neighborhood where everyone waves, but no one really knows each other. She parked, got out, walked up to a white 2-story house with ivy crawling up the side. No hesitation, no looking around. She didn't even knock. She used a keypad for quick taps. The door opened from the inside. She smiled. Not just a casual smile, a real one. A smile I hadn't seen in months. The kind that makes your stomach twist because it used to be yours. Then she stepped inside, and the door shut. I sat there frozen, hands still on the gear shift. I didn't get out. Didn't move. I just stared at the house. I thought I saw someone pass in front of the second-floor window, a silhouette. Male. Too tall to be a coincidence. But I couldn't see clearly. The curtain closed fast. I waited for maybe 20 minutes, trying to decide if I was the kind of man who walks up and rings the doorbell. I wasn't. I just drove home. When she returned hours later, she smelled like cologne. Not hers. Not mine. Something darker, muskier, like leather and citrus. She tossed her bag by the door and said she was tired, her voice low and lazy. I asked how the studio was, and she nodded. Jessa sends her love. That was it. I should have said something then. But I didn't. Because saying it out loud would make it real. And part of me still needed the illusion to survive. The next morning, something strange happened. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't proof. But it shook me more than the night outside that house ever did. She handed me coffee. We used to do that all the time. It was our thing. Whoever woke up first would bring the other coffee without asking. It stopped months ago, along with the morning kisses and sleepy smiles. But that day, without warning, she placed a mug in front of me like nothing had changed. Except she got it wrong. Not just a little wrong, completely. The mug wasn't mine. It was hers. Pale green, chipped at the bottom. The one she always used. I stared at it, confused, then took a sip. Sweet. Too sweet. 2 sugars, vanilla, almond milk, cinnamon. Her mix. I haven't taken sugar in coffee in 5 years. She didn't notice. Or acted like she didn't. I asked, gently, "Did you mix up our mugs?" She blinked like the question didn't make sense and said, "Oh, sorry. I just made it how you like it." Then smiled and left the room. And I sat there, tasting her drink, realizing she'd forgotten who I was. Or maybe, more accurately, she'd gotten used to making it for someone else. The whole day I felt like I was watching my life through glass. I tried to work, answer emails, grade a few papers. But all I could think about was the way she handed me that mug, so casual, so confident, like she wasn't even pretending anymore. Like this whole thing was just running on autopilot while her real life played out somewhere else. That night, I tried to talk to her. Not fight. Not accuse. Just talk. I asked if she was happy. Her answer came too fast. Yeah. Why? I asked if she felt like we were still us. She looked at me like I was quoting a poem she didn't remember. Then she said, "Are you trying to start something?" That's how upside down everything had gotten. Asking if we were okay felt like a threat. She fell asleep early, headphones in, curled up facing the wall. I lay awake again, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was living next to a stranger who knew all my passwords but none of my fears. And the worst part was, I didn't even know what I was waiting for anymore. Confirmation? A confession? Or just the strength to leave before she did? It happened on a Wednesday. Nothing ever happens on Wednesdays. They're the grayest of days, the middle of the road, the waiting room of the week. And maybe that's why she let her guard down. Maybe routine made her sloppy. Or maybe, deep down, she wanted me to see. She left her phone on the counter while she was in the shower. That alone was unusual. Lately it followed her everywhere, like a second skin. She used to leave it charging for hours without even glancing at it. Now, she checks it like it's a newborn. But that morning, it buzzed. Just once. And I don't know why I looked. I wish I hadn't. The message preview wasn't even from a name, just an initial. C. 1 letter, nothing else. But the message was clear. Too clear. Last night was impossible to forget. Still thinking about your laugh. And everything else. I didn't open it. Didn't touch it. Didn't need to. That one sentence pulled the ground out from under me. I stood there, coffee in hand, staring at the lock screen like it had just punched me in the face. And then I heard the water stop. I panicked. Put the phone back exactly where she left it. Same angle, same distance from the charger cable. I backed away like it was a crime scene. She walked out a few minutes later, damp hair wrapped in a towel, humming like it was any other morning. She kissed me on the cheek, something she hadn't done in weeks, and smiled. It felt like an apology for something she didn't know I knew. Or maybe she did know. Maybe we both knew now. I didn't ask. Not yet. Instead, I watched her move around the kitchen like she still lived here. Like I still lived in her heart. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't afraid of losing her anymore. I was afraid of what version of me would be left when she was gone. That night, I sat in the garage for 2 hours after she went to bed, just staring at the wall, gripping the steering wheel of my parked car like I was about to drive off the edge of the world. I didn't go anywhere. But I wasn't home, either. I asked her at 9:17 p.m. on a Friday, standing in the hallway with my hand on the bedroom doorframe, heart thudding like I'd just run 10 flights of stairs. I didn't plan it. I didn't rehearse some dramatic speech. I just said the words. Who's C? She didn't flinch, didn't even look surprised. She was folding laundry on the bed, one of my old college t-shirts, actually, and she just paused, held the shirt for a second longer than necessary, then set it down slowly. Her hands moved so calmly that for a moment I thought I imagined the message. That maybe I'd read it wrong, jump to conclusions, poison myself with suspicion. But then she spoke. What do you want me to say? Not denial. Not outrage. Just that. I felt like someone had pulled the floor out from under me. But instead of falling, I was just stuck, suspended in that horrible moment where reality shifts and you can't go back to before. I didn't answer her. I just stood there waiting for her to explain, to apologize, to lie, something. But she didn't. She sat on the edge of the bed and looked at me like she'd been waiting for this to happen. Like she was relieved. It's not serious, she finally said, voice quiet. I didn't plan it. It just happened. That phrase. It just happened. As if cheating was a slippery floor she accidentally fell through. As if intimacy could unfold without intention. I remember laughing. Not because it was funny, but because the alternative was crying in front of her, and I wasn't ready to do that yet. How long? I asked. She didn't answer right away, just stared down at her hands. I could see the pulse in her wrist, fast and uneven. Then, a few months, maybe more. That's when I realized I wasn't angry. I was empty, like every emotion had gone into hiding the second the truth entered the room. I felt like a man watching someone else's marriage fall apart. I asked her one last thing. Do you love him? She looked up, eyes glassy, but not wet. Not yet. And then she did something I didn't expect. She shook her head. No, but I don't know if I love you either. I left the room, not out of drama, not to make a point, but because suddenly the air in there felt too thick to breathe. I sat in the living room, lights off, staring at the cold fireplace for what felt like an hour. And for the first time in our marriage, I didn't care where she went next. Because wherever it wasn't with me. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I sat on the couch, listening to the refrigerator hum and the occasional creak of the house settling, wondering if I had just witnessed the end of something or the beginning of something else. There was no shouting, no slammed doors. Just a strange, heavy quiet that hung between us like a curtain we both refused to lift. By morning, I expected her to be gone. She wasn't. She was sitting at the kitchen table, elbows resting on the edge, staring at a mug of untouched coffee. Not her usual one. Mine. The right one. Black. No sugar. No cinnamon. When I walked in, she didn't look up. Just said, I'm sorry I made it wrong before. I remembered this time. It was the smallest gesture. Insignificant in the grand scheme of betrayal. But it made something in my chest crack open, just a little. We talked. For hours. Not perfectly, not cleanly. There were pauses. Awkward silences. But we talked. I told her how small I'd felt, how invisible. She told me how lonely she'd become, how she'd been waiting for me to notice, to ask, to see her again like I used to. It didn't justify anything, but it explained everything. She didn't defend what she did, and I didn't pretend to be blameless. We cried, separately, quietly, not in some romantic, movie scene way. It was raw, messy, real, and when there was nothing left to say, she asked me, do you want me to leave? And I said, no, I want us to stop pretending and start over. If we can. I don't know if it was forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something. A crack in the wall we'd both been building with our silence. It's been 3 months since that night. We go to therapy now. We eat together again, not always in silence. Sometimes we even laugh. I found the photo album I'd made for our anniversary. She'd never opened it. But last week, I found it on her nightstand, dog-eared. A note stuck inside that just said, I want to find us again. We're not perfect. Maybe we never were. But we're trying. Honestly, vulnerably. And sometimes that's enough. Because love isn't in the grand gestures. It's in the smallest door left open, when the other person thought everything was already closed. And this time, we're both walking back through it. Please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all.